Welcome to the Hemlock State Explorer. We're glad you're with us. Today we are at a true gem in Lebanon County, Pennsylvania, Swatara State Park, located at the historically significant and strategic Swatara Gap. And we are so excited to be here because there are so many things to do. We're actually going to take you on a bike tour of Swatara State Park just because there's so much to do that I want to introduce you to. There's the famous abandoned Bordner cabin, there's the Appalachian Trail, there's a rail trail, there's fishing, kayaking, hiking, fossil sites. So there's so much to do here, and there's probably a bunch of things I'm forgetting as well. So stick with us. We are going to have a great adventure today, exploring and uncovering for you Swatara State Park. We are at the remains of the historic Lock Number 9 of the Union Canal. The Union Canal was constructed to connect the Schuylkill River and the Susquehanna River, and this was vital for transportation in the days before highways and even before that, the railroads. The Union Canal, among other things, was a major transportation route for coal. We are in the southern tip of the anthracite region of Schuylkill County, a little bit above us, which flowed then through Lebanon County via this canal to major ports. So we are standing on a piece of our nation's industrial and commercial history. This particular lock was completed in 1827. If you want to get to this lock, it's right next to the trail. Actually, you can see the trail right there. It's better to visit in the fall or the winter because, as you can see, right at our feet is a enormous crop of poison ivy. So just be careful if you want to get up close to the canal. But if you like history, this is certainly an excellent place to visit. And as you can see, this runs right next to Swatara Creek. Here's a head-on view of the canal. We'll zoom in a bit here, with an interpretive sign which reads, "This stone structure is what remains of Lock 9 of the Union Canal Company's branch canal to Pine Grove. The branch canal was in operation from 1830 until 1862. Canal boats filled with coal from the mines north of Pine Grove passed this spot on the way to cities as far away as Baltimore, Philadelphia, and New York. The original lock at this location was much smaller and made of wood. In 1851, the lock was reconstructed of stone and enlarged to accommodate boats that could haul up to 80 tons of cargo." Here is another piece of history right at the trailhead, the Berlin Iron Bridge, built by the Berlin Iron Bridge Company, located in New Berlin, Connecticut. It is a cast iron bridge that was constructed in 1890. It was originally a road bridge, but then was dismantled and relocated here across the Swatara Creek, and now is sometimes known as the Appalachian Trail Bridge because the Appalachian Trail crosses right over it, and it gives access across the beautiful Swatara Creek. And this also helps to form the loop, the loop bike trail encompassing the state park. And as we take a look down here, you can see the Swatara Creek flow through the Swatara Gap of the Blue Mountains. We are standing on top of the ruins of another Union Canal lock, just a few hundred yards upstream of Lock Number 9. As you can see, this one is in a bit of disrepair with stones falling out of the side, but if we ascend this little hump up here, we can see much more clearly. Yeah, right here, the edge of the lock is much better preserved, and we're actually pretty high up. There's the lock below. We can walk right to the edge of this side. Oh yeah, this gives us a good view. Let me zoom out a bit. So here we are, another historic Union Canal lock. Here it is, the Bordner cabin. Looks like we have some other visitors inside ahead of us. We'll go around the side of the cabin to the main entrance. Amar Bordner was an industrial arts teacher at Northern Lebanon High School, and he constructed this cabin. It was completed in 1939. We'll just take a look here. Let me turn on some lights. There we go. A side room right here. Behind this massive fireplace, let's go into the main room and get a view of this fireplace. So Amar Bordner built this cabin as a home for himself and his wife and daughter, and his brother, or his uncle rather, felled the timber, and he and his students crafted all of this by hand. And then this really is the gem of the cabin, this enormous picture window that looks out to Acreag's Falls. So imagine waking up every morning and this is your view, greeting the day. Let's go out on the deck. It's very notable how this deck, with this cantilever design inspired by Frank Lloyd Wright, overhangs the creek below. And then here's the beautiful patio with a view of Acreag's Falls. Man, imagine having some deck parties on this. You really can't beat that. Who needs television or phones or any other kind of electronic entertainment with this? And then here's the rock in which Bordner carved the name of the falls, Acreag's Falls, which he named after Benjamin Acreag, an engineer who constructed the Union Canal. And we get some firm footing, and here's a view of Bordner cabin. Beautiful. This was a man's dream home, and he achieved it. So like I said, Bordner built this with the help of his uncle and his students. It was completed in 1939. But then in the 70s, this land was taken by eminent domain. Bordner, this being his dream home, bought it and actually won, and he won the right to remain here until his death in 1994, at which time this was turned over to the state. And I believe in the early 2000s, 2006 maybe, this was in really bad disrepair, and then was rescued by the Swatara Creek Association, and they won a lease, a 10-year lease that is renewable every 10 years to maintain and have control over the cabin. But this is something very interesting here. Look how these logs were cut, concave on the bottom and stacked right on another. What craftsmanship! What a beautiful cabin. Let's go look in some of these main rooms. Okay, that's underneath the stairs. Okay, we'll go through here to a bedroom. Not very high ceilings, cozy. Here's a view. Other visitors here, very popular place. Door would have turned on that. Another bedroom on this main level. Well, it looks like here's a photo of what the bedroom would have looked like. Let's turn off the flash. There you go. Well, now you just see me in the reflection. We don't want to see that. Okay, that's what the bedroom would have looked like in Bordner's day. So the sense that I'm getting is this was designed to experience nature. It seems like everywhere in the house you hear and feel the sounds of the outdoors. Okay, here's a large bedroom, and okay, well, here's that hole where we saw down into the garage area, and then there's the door that led from the garage up here. Okay, so there's the door that came from the garage underneath this porch. So I guess you could load and unload things directly from the house via that porch without actually going outside, at least into the rain or the snow. Beautiful. And all this was built with local materials, again inspired by Frank Lloyd Wright. This used local stone and local lumber, which I mentioned his uncle actually felled, and then Bordner handcrafted. And then here's the top bedroom area. Let me turn the light back on. And here's the top bedroom area. And you can hear the falls clearly from this bedroom area. How do you like to fall asleep to that every night? What an amazing place. Here's the lower level of Bordner cabin. Forms a garage. There's a door, it looks like, right here. Let's go back in here and see what this looks like. Okay, stone wall. Let me turn on the lights. You can see the stone wall, the beams holding the structure above. A little crawl space. Yeah, from what I read, if we go back to this door, Bordner constructed this door from the garage area so he could hand up firewood and groceries to his wife above. Here's a view of the Bordner cabin from the south side. One of the distinct features is this deck overlooking the creek. And you can see the cabin was built right next to the creek. And then there's a stone patio area that looks right up to the falls. Amar Bordner was inspired by Frank Lloyd Wright, and you can see that in the cantilevered design of this deck that sticks right out to the creek below. Here we are climbing up Acreage Falls, and you can actually make your way all the way to the top, which is where we are going. If you look behind us, Bordner cabin is right below, and as you can tell, it is packed. A very popular spot, really a gem in the crown of Swatara State Park. So there's something of a trail heading up Acreage Falls, but I've been up here before and it does get difficult. But let's see what it looks like today. Here's some more waterfalls up here, getting closer. I feel a very pleasant breeze coming off of those. Okay, looks like the trail goes up over these rocks. That's a nice view. Looks like you could climb right up that waterfall if they weren't wet, of course, because there's a step formation. Wow, I love that. Okay, let's continue up the trail, and as you can see right here, this is the challenging part. It gets pretty steep. This is going to be a hands and feet trail for sure. So I'm going to have to leave you for a moment as I make my way up here, and we'll reconvene above Acreage Falls. Let's take a look from this precipice that juts out above Acreage Falls. Rather, it looks like in the middle of the falls. And we can see just a little bit the roof of Bordner Cabin down below. We've made it to our objective above Acreage Falls, and you can see the Bordner Cabin below. It looks like it's cleared out some, but here we are on top of the culvert, and you're really getting the VIP tour, which we love to give you at Hemlock State Explorer. And by the way, you can find the coordinates and the maps and everything else you need to know to find these locations at hemlockstateexplorer.com. But a lot of people visit the Bordner Cabin. It's very popular, and for good reason. But not many people even know about this culvert up here. And this travels underneath Route 83. And you can actually walk right through, which is what we're going to do. We'll get our feet wet. You can walk right underneath Route 83 to the other side. So let me pause and turn on the lights. There we go. It's only a few inches of water, but this is really cool. Most people don't know about this. Actually, the water is pretty refreshing on my feet because it's in the 80s right now. And although it's hot today, it's a glorious summer day, really have not been hit by the heat too hard because we are in the ravine, Swatara Creek, and we have a lot of foliage blocking out the sun and giving us some dappled shade, for which I'm very thankful. Okay, the culvert is turning, and I'm starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel here, literally. See some reflected light off the wall. I'll turn off the light. There we go, you see? Okay. I'm making it to the end. Unlike a lot of places I've walked through like this, although the water is flowing, it is several inches of water covering our shoes, so you really do have to get wet to do this. There's an abrasive floor, like cemented in gravel stones, which actually gives us very good footing. It's not slippery at all. I'll put the light on. Yeah, this is probably one of the safest places like this that I know of, that you can walk through a long culvert on account of being shallow, and we have very good footing. And we've come to a log jam. Turn off the light again. Don't need that anymore. Let's see what it looks like up above. Okay. Well, here we are. We are on the other side of Route 83. So this is a special tip from the Hemlock State Explorer. And that is where we just came from. We are right next to Acreage Falls. There are trails on both sides of the falls, so you can access them from either side. Beautiful. And we'll just pan down here and show you that we are directly above Bordner Cabin. We are at Swatara State Park's very own fossil site, and as you can see ahead of you, there's been a lot of activity, and this part of the hill is excavated. There are actually fossil sites all throughout Swatara State Park, but this is, I guess you could say, the official one. And there's a stream that you can hear on the other side of this mound over here. But I found various bivalves, crinoids, the occasional trilobite at this fossil site. So if you're into that sort of thing, and you're in the Swatara State Park area, be sure to check this out. We crossed from the trail on the south side of Swatara Creek to the trail on the north side, which is the Swatara Rail Trail via Swopes Valley Road. There's a trailhead there with a boat launch, and you can see that we are now on this fun wooden bridge that is actually a shortcut. It cuts right through the state park, and you can see the beautiful Swatara right there. We've seen lots of kayakers, and there were just some folks swimming there. But this is a sand siding road that comes into the another parking area right by this bridge, and this is the sand siding trail, which is a shortcut right through. So we'll turn back around. I just wanted to show you this fun trail and the shortcut. The Swatara Rail Trail, which is what we're taking now on the north side, is it's a very easy trail. Both trails are crushed gravel, but the Swatara Rail Trail is relatively flat so far, whereas the trail on the south side is undulating. There are some hills, and you can get going pretty fast, but then you also have to go uphill too, so if you like that challenge, the trail on the south side is a bit more up and down, whereas the rail trail on the north side is a bit flatter so far. We are continuing our journey on the Swatara Rail Trail on the north side of Swatara Creek, and the crushed gravel rail trail gives way to this abandoned road, and there's just something intriguing, a certain mystique, hard to explain, that I feel about abandoned roads, abandoned buildings. Maybe you do too, but this is just another star in my opinion. This is so cool. Just one thing to note though, we have lost our tree cover, and I can feel the sun reflecting off the road, so it's a bit warmer now, but we have a nice breeze going, so it's still very pleasant. But I just wanted to share with you this very cool abandoned road. We started out on the Moonshine Trail and took the loop via the Bear Hole Trail and the Swatara Rail Trail through the state park, and this really was a quick tour for you. We've hit the highlights, but there's so much more to see. And one of the things I like about Swatara State Park, in addition to the multitude of things to see and do, there seems to be something for everyone, and it's a great place for families and kids. But another nice convenient thing is there are multiple trailheads, so you can choose where you want to start depending on what it is you want to do, whether it's going to the fossil sites, whether it's seeing the historical relics, or just enjoying a nice bike trip or a hike on the Appalachian Trail. There's so much here to see, and you can see where all those trailheads are and where the points of interest are on our full adventure at hemlockstateexplorer.com. We want to thank you for joining us today, and we can't wait to see you on the next adventure.